Welcome to the third chapter of Hosea, and it begins, Ke ipe Kyrios pros me, eti porevthiti ke agapison gineka agaposon ponira ke mikalin, kathos agapa Kyrios tus ius Israel, ke afti apovlepusi, epitus theus tus allotrius, ke philusi pemata meta staphidos. And the Lord said, the Kyrie eleison, the Lord said to me, and here's the first pronoun, and it's me, said to me. Me is English, and it's almost a direct, this is a direct transliteration. And this chapter we're going to be featuring the first person singular personal pronoun. We had all the personal pronouns in the first two chapters, and now we're going to zero in on just the first person singular, that is one person, and those pronouns there's four of them. Ego, I, emu, of me, emi, to or for me, and ame. They all start with a e, and whenever you see a pronoun with a e, epsilon, I'm sorry, getting back and forth from English to Greek, epsilon, then you know it's first person pronoun. And the second, the genitive, the emu, can be abbreviated just mu, and the dative emi can be translated me. And when it's emu, then it's emphatic. And when it's just me or me, it's unemphatic. So it takes more emphasis whenever it has the me rather than when it has just the mu or the me. Hope that makes a little bit of sense. You can take a look in the grammar and check it out. And the Lord said to me, you go again and agapison, love. We have agape. Gineka, a woman, the gene, gynecology, as we mentioned before, and agaposin, loving evil, and an adulteress. So here he's being told now to go marry another woman. And this woman is one who loves evil and is an adulteress. Even as the Lord, Kyrios agapa, loves the sons of Israel, and they look away unto strange gods, theus. We have theology as a derivative, God, and are fond of cakes with dried grapes, philusi. We have Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, or friendly love, and fond in this case. They're fond of cakes with dried grapes. These people are basically Israel, who love evil and is an adulteress who has went away from God. In verse 2 it continues, Ke emis thosamen avtin emavto pentakaidaka argiriu, ke gomer krithon, ke nevel inu. And I hired her to myself. So he went out and found a woman for pentakaidaka. Pente is five. A pentagram is five-sided. And K is and Theka is 10, a decade. For 15, I have the pieces of silver. Argirio is derivative is Argentina. Argirio, silver. And a gomer, or a homer in English, of barley. And a skin flask of inu. Vino is the English derivative for the wine. A nevel of skin flasks. They had those, but they call them bota bags in Spain now. They're leather bags, and they put the wine in them, and they put them up above their heads and open them up and pour it into their mouth. You see that in different movies, and these flasks is how they had the wine. Apparently they weren't in the bottles like we have them. They may have been in other containers because when Jesus changed the water into wine, it was a large container. In verse 3 it continues, Ke ipon prosavtin, imeris polas, kathisi epemi, ke umi pornevsis, ude mi geni andri, ke ago epi si. And I hired her, and I said to her, well, many days, Emeris, you shall sit down by me. By me, you're going to sit down by me. So this is emphatic, me. And in no way should you commit a harlotry, pornevsis, of pornography. Nor should you be to a andri, a man, android, male robot. And ego, I, there's the first person, I will be unto you. I put the will be, I unto you. So you're going to be mine, and you're not going to be committing harlotry. He's going to grab a hold of her and put her in seclusion, and she's not going to be getting away for many days, it says. Then it continues in verse 4. Dioti meris polas kathesonte ii Israel, uk ontos vasileos, ude ontos archontos, ude usis thesias, ude ontos thesasteriu, ude eratias, ude thilon. For many days, polas, many, polygamy, many marriages, poly, for many in English. The sons of Israel shall sit down with there not being a vasileos, a king, the basil plant, basilica derivatives, nor there being a archontos, a ruler, nor there being a sacrifice. So there's not going to be a king. There's no kingdom anymore. There's not even going to be a ruler, no country. Nor is there going to be a sacrifice, nor there being an altar. So there's not going to be a temple. There's not going to be sacrifices, nor an iratias, a priesthood, hieroglyphics with the ha sound at the beginning, the priestly writings of the Egyptians, hieroglyphics, iratias, nor manifestations, and those are the Urim and the Thummim that they carried around, and some type of a lot that they cast to decide whether they should go to war or not. So all of this is going to be gone, and this goes along with the first and second chapters about Israel being taken away, and then this long period of time that will be without all these things. In verse 5, Ke metatavta epistrepsusin ii Israel, ke zitisusi Kyrion ton theon avton, ke David ton vasilea avton, ke stisonte epi to Kyrio, ke epi tis agathis avtus, ep eschaton ton imeron. And after these things, the sons of Israel shall return, and they shall seek the Lord their God. So after this long time, there was a period of time Nebuchadnezzar came and took the people for 40 years, and they came back and rebuilt Israel until the Romans came in 70 AD and completely destroyed it, and it was destroyed for almost 2,000 years until 1948, when Israel was made a kingdom, was made a nation again by the United Nations. Of course, we know who rules the world. So God brought the people back in 1948. And it says, and after these things the sons of Israel shall return, and they shall seek the Lord their God, and David their king. So they're seeking God and David their king. And they shall be amazed over the Lord, and over his good things at the eschaton ton imeron, the last or the latter end of the days. Now, that's a short chapter, but we're going to zero in on this latter end of the days. You might want to get a paper and pencil out and write down these verses, quite a few of them here. I looked up eschaton there at number 2078. Eschaton, latter end or last in the plural of the tone, imeron, ephemeral days. Eschatology comes from this word eschaton. Eschatology has to do with the latter end in theology. So the latter end of the days, the plural. First place it appears, and I looked, compared to number 2078 with 2250, one of the advantages of the Apostolic Bible and the Greek Old and New Testament with the same words. You couldn't do this in almost any other Bible. And I looked up these two words, and when both of these words appeared in a chapter, in a verse, I wrote it down. Many of the places it wasn't in the same context. Sometimes it could be the last of the days of somebody's life. But when it had the latter end of the days, something close to that, I wrote it down, and we're going to go through all these, every one of the places I found, and I don't think I missed any. Starts with Genesis 49:1. And Jacob blesses the sons. And Jacob called his sons and said, "Come together that I may announce to you what will meet to you upon the last of the days." There's the last, it's the eschatu, it's in the singular, so it's not exactly the same. The last of the days, and this is at the latter end, eschaton, plural. So you can go through all these and put them together and come up with study with them. We're not going to go too far in depth with all this. I'll give you the quotations here, and you can look them up and then study them on your own and put it together, this information. The second place is Numbers 24:14, and Balaam is blessing Israel. "And now, behold, I run to my place. Come, I will advise you what this people will do with your people in the last of the days." Now we have eschaton, ton, imeron, exact match. So you can read what Balaam, son of Beor, has to say what's going to happen. And you get to go through this, you'll get a lot of information on what's going to happen at the end of the days. Next one is Deuteronomy 4:30. And this is a warning to the Israelites. "And all these words you shall find you at the last of the days, and you shall turn towards the Lord your God, and you shall hearken to his voice." Now here's eschatu of the days, and the singular last, so it's not an exact match there. Next is Joshua 24:27. "And Joshua said to all the people, Behold, this stone will be to you for a testimony, for it has heard all the things being said by the Lord, as much as he spoke to you today. And this will be in you for a testimony unto the last of the days, whenever you should lie to the Lord your God." That's an exact match. Joshua wrote these things and took a great stone, and set it under the terebinth tree before the Lord as a witness, testimony. And you can read more about that. Then there's a long gap until Isaiah 2:2. It says, "For it will be in the last days." There's the mountain of the Lord will be apparent, and the house of God will be upon the uppermost parts of the mountains, and it shall be raised high above the hills, and all the nations shall come unto it. This is eschates, in the last days, not the of the last, but it is plural, but it's in the dative. So you can read about that, what it's talking about. The next one is Jeremiah 23:20. It says, "And the rage of the Lord shall not turn away until whenever he should execute it, and until whenever he should establish it according to the enterprise of his heart. At the latter end of the days they shall comprehend them." Eschaton, ton, imeron, exact match. And you can read more about this, what it's talking about here, and against the wicked prophets and priests. Next is Jeremiah 30:24. In no way shall the anger of the rage of the Lord turn, until he should execute, and until he should ordain the enterprise of his heart. Upon the last of the days you shall know them. This eskatu is in the genitive singular. You shall know them. Enterprise of his heart. Another one to study. Jeremiah 48:47. And I shall return the captivity of Moab in the last days, says the Lord, unto this is the judgment of Moab. And here we have the dative in the last, plural, dative plural days. Then Jeremiah 49:39, it says, and it will be at the latter end of the days, I will return the captivity of Elam, says the Lord. Here it's exact match, latter ends of the days. I have latter ends. I should have probably put latter ends in the plural there in chapter 3, right up here. I have to make myself a note to change that for the second edition, upon the latter ends of the last days. And that was 49:39. The next one is Ezekiel 38:16. 38, and it says, this is talking about Gog shall ascend against Israel, and we were mentioning that earlier in the first couple of chapters, how this whole thing seems to tie into this part of Ezekiel where Gog is coming, and these nations against Israel could be today. And you shall ascend against my people Israel as a cloud to cover the land. At the eskatu, the latter end of the days, it will be. Here we have it, eskatu, it's in the genitive singular. Next is Daniel 2:28, and it says, but there is a God in heaven uncovering mysteries. Daniel's interpreting this dream, Nebuchadnezzar. And he made known to King Nebuchadnezzar what must take place at the last of the days. There is the eschaton, or the latter end. I have the last here, back and forth. Maybe the second edition, I'll put them all the same, the latter end or the latter ends. I like better now because it has a singular and a plural ends. And the latter, it could be here, what must take place at the latter end of the days. It's interesting when you're translating how these words, you have to get them exact, and boy, there's so many little nuances to check on, and I've been working on this for 25 years, and here I'm still seeing things that I could change and make it better. Daniel 10:14 is the next one. Little digression there. And I came to bring understanding to you as much as shall meet your people. This is Michael, the archangel, speaking. In the last of the days, for the vision is still for days. The last, eschaton ton imeron, exact match. So the Persians stood against Michael for 20 days and 1 day. So that's something there you can read about. So it all ties in with the Persians and Gog, this giant battle, Armageddon, Megiddo, Jezreel. Micah 4:1. And at the last of the days, eschaton ton imeron, the exact match, the mountain of the Lord will be made apparent, readied upon the tops of the mountains, and it shall rise up high from the hills, and peoples shall hasten to it. It's Micah 4:1. That's the end of all the quotations in the Old Testament. Now we're going to jump to the New Testament, and the first one is John 39, also 40, 44, and 54. John 39 says, And this is the will of the Father having sent me, that all which he has given to me I should not lose of it, but should raise it in the last day. Now, we don't have an exact match. That's the last day. Could be the last of these days, and then the last day is this resurrection. The escati, the singular, the latter end day. If I made it that way, then you can see my problem of using last or latter end, because that would have made it sound kind of strange. And but should raise it in the latter end day. And then verse 40, and this is the will of the one having sent me, that everyone viewing the Son and trusting in him should have life eternal, Ionio, and I will raise him up, I myself, in the escati imera, in the last day. In 44, no one is able to come to me unless the Father, the one having sent me, should draw him, and I will raise him up in the escati imera, last day. And then verse 54, the one chewing of my flesh and drinking of my blood has life Ionion, eternal, or Ionio, and I will raise him up in the escati imera, in the last day, the latter end day. Then in John 11:24, Martha's talking. She says to him, I know that he will rise up in the resurrection in te escati imera. So the last day is not exactly the same as what it's talking about in Micah, but I thought I'd show you these because they are of interest in the similarity, but there is also a difference. Then in Acts 2:17, it says, and it will be in the last days, the escates imeres, and this is in the dative plural, in the latter end days, says God, I will pour out from my Spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. And this is a quotation from the Old Testament, which we already went through. Then 2 Timothy 3:1, it says by Paul, but this know, that in the escates imeres, the last days, in the dative, ill-tempered times will be present. And then it goes on and he explains all these different things that are how you'll be able to see the last days. Not an exact match, but very similar, very close. Hebrews 1:2. In these last days spoke to us, I'll start in verse 1, in many parts and in various ways earlier, God, having spoken to the fathers by the prophets, in these last days spoke to us by the Son, whom he established heir of all things. And this is a last days in the genitive. It's not an exact match. And then 2 Peter 3:3. It says, this first knowing that mockers will come at the last of the days. Exact match. Eschaton ton imeron. Going according to their own lusts, and saying, where is the promise of his arrival? So this is the last quotation. So we have all of these informative verses, the last of the days, or the latter ends of the days. We'll continue more in chapter 4, and hope you will join us then. God bless.